you don't see someone like me, I always wear a sign, can I help? And if you don't see me, there's a great nonpartisan organization called the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights, and you can call them right from outside that polling place. It is 866 our vote, 866 our vote. They have lawyers on the hotline, and they can advise you what to do if you're having a problem voting. But the other thing is you must check the rules on that vote.org. It'll tell you what type of ID you need if you're in a state that has ID. The other thing is, obviously, if there's any type of issue regarding intimidation, like I said, you need to inform authorities about that. Hopefully there's someone outside. You call that number. Obviously, if there's any threat of physical harm, you call the authorities. But I think the thing you need to worry about most is getting your own house in order, making sure you're registered, making sure you do it early. Try to go to early voting if you're going to do it in person, or if it's a mail-in ballot or you want to drop it off, do it early, because Election Day obviously becomes the time where the lines start to form, potential problems do occur. So you want to make sure you combat that by doing it early. And please, misinformation. There's a lot of it out there. There's these robocalls we've seen on the news, people giving out misinformation. Let the media do the fact-checking for you. You just do your voting plan and focus and move forward.
Okay. And again, in case you're just tuning in, you're listening to Sunday Morning Magazine. I'm Rodney Lear. More information about the show, more information about our guests can be found on our Facebook page, Sunday Morning Magazine with Rodney Lear. Just head there now and like us there now. We're talking to Richard C. Bell. He's a voting rights expert and attorney. The title of his book is Voting: The Ultimate Act of Resistance. Now, Richard, what can we all do, the everyday person, the everyday citizen, what can we all do to fight voter suppression?
Oh, right now, you can volunteer to be a poll worker because poll workers are always needed. It's a great thing if you're especially younger and healthy because of the pandemic. Most of the poll workers in the past have been older, retired people, and obviously they're reluctant to do that this year, understandably so. So especially if you're a young, healthy person, volunteer to be a poll worker. That's a great thing. If you're a lawyer or a law student or, any other type of person that's civically interested, you can volunteer to be a poll watcher, whether inside or outside, like I do. You can just talk to your elderly neighbor or elderly family member. They may not be online like you. They may not know all the registration rules and all the deadlines. Go on there for them. Tell them. Make sure they know deadlines and they get their mail in or however else they're going to get that ballot in. Those are the best things that you can do because those are all within your control.
Okay. Now, one thing that I often hear is people say that, I'm not going to vote. My vote is not going to make a difference. What do you say to that type of person, the person that has that mindset?
I say to that person, you and 100 million others in 2016 didn't vote. That's how many non-voters that were eligible in 2016. Look at where we are. Look back to the year 2000. Al Gore lost to George Bush by 537 votes out of over 6 million, and almost 6 million in Florida, which made the election go for Bush. Every vote counts. Number one, it's your civic duty. Number two, people died for your right to vote literally throughout history. Number three, voting is the only way that any change is going to take place. Because just remember, the people in power are the people in charge of the laws and the people in charge of the policy. And we can yell and scream and complain as much as we want, but if we don't vote and get the people we want on the inside, then things are not going to change. So I tell every one of you that voting is the most important thing you can do if you want to see change in this society. And you just ask Al Gore, after the entire country voted, it came down to 537 votes in the year 2000. It would have changed history if more people had come out.
Okay. I want to circle back. You touched on this. I want to talk about the pandemic. You touched on a little bit about that, but what impact do you believe the pandemic will have on voting in this upcoming election?
Sure. Well, it certainly is going to increase the number of people using vote by mail and mail-in ballots dramatically. Obviously, many people, for safety reasons, don't want to go to a polling place, and that's well understood. So what happens there is now there is an effort to suppress the vote because of certain laws regarding whether or not your ballot has to be received by Election Day or postmarked by Election Day, whether or not you should have enough drop boxes, whether or not it should be postage paid, whether or not it could be delivered by other organizations and group it together. So, you may have a group of elderly people, you pick them up and they're all sealed and bring them in. And there's this signature matching or missing signature, which are two things that happen. And they have found, a recent study showed that North Carolina, which has started to vote already, it seems disproportionately that African-American ballots are being rejected. And one of the main reasons is because they are first-time absentee voters. So you must follow the instructions extremely carefully. It's not that complicated, but it's got to be followed. There's an inner envelope, an outer envelope, a signature area, an area where you have to print your name. It has to be done right because in most states, they don't notify you if they rejected it. Fortunately, in North Carolina, they do notify you so these people can rectify the problem, and that's the other thing about doing it early. You can resolve problems when you do things early.
Makes sense. Makes sense. All right. If our listeners would like to find out more about you, Richard C. Bell, if they would like to find out more about the book, get the book, Voting the Ultimate Act of Resistance. How can they find out more?
Yes, they can go to my website, which is 877call-law.com. That's 877-CALL-LAW.com.
Okay. And if they witness voter intimidation, voter suppression, things like that, what recourse, again, do they have on Election Day or before?
Okay, absolutely. So this is what you do. If it's on Election Day or early voting, if there is an outside poll watcher like me out there, and usually we wear a sign or a button, you tell us about it. If you already go inside to the polling place, you certainly tell the poll worker. If someone like me is not out there, you call this nonpartisan organization of civil rights called 866-OUR-VOTE. The phone number is 866-OUR-VOTE. They have lawyers. They will make sure they dispatch people and inform the proper authorities.
All right. Well, we're out of time this morning. Richard C. Bell, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us. I really do appreciate it. Really good information, important information.
More than my pleasure, Rodney, and everybody vote, vote, vote like your life depends on it because it does.
All right. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Rodney.
We've been speaking to Richard C. Bell. Again, the title of the book is Voting the Ultimate Act of Resistance. Well, that's it for this edition of Sunday Morning Magazine. Remember, more information about the show can be found on our Facebook page. Visit us and like us at Sunday Morning Magazine with Rodney Lear. I'm Rodney Lear. Until next week, be encouraged.
Listen to Sunday Morning Magazine no matter what day it is. Use your favorite podcast app and subscribe to Sunday Morning Magazine with Rodney Lear today.